Imagine for a moment that you are a Christian living in 7th century Arabia, and I come to you as Muhammad, trying to convince you that your revelation is corrupted and in need of an upgrade. Am I going to tell you something like this? You have nothing to stand on unless you uphold the Torah and the Injil, that is, the gospel. Would that statement convince you that the Torah or the gospel are corrupted? Well, that's exactly what Muhammad tells Christians in Al-Ma'idah 68 of the Quran. So let's try this again. Now imagine you are a Jew living in 7th century Arabia, and I am Muhammad, who comes to you to convince you that your revelation is corrupted. And when discussing your scripture, I ask you this question. So do you believe in some parts of the scripture and not in others? The punishment for those of you who do this will be nothing but disgrace. Yeah, I'm just not so sure that's going to convince you to abandon your scripture for my new scripture, especially when I promise you punishment for doing so. But guess what? That's the exact warning that Muhammad issues Jews in Al-Baqarah 85 of the Quran. But let's give this one last shot. Imagine that you are Muhammad in 7th century Arabia, and you are a little bit perturbed that Christians and Jews are rejecting your message. I come to you as Allah to convince you that your revelation is true. Would I say something like this? If you, prophet, are in doubt about what we have revealed to you, ask those who have been reading the scripture before you. I imagine it would be hard for you to reject the scripture that came before you if I'm telling you to test your own scripture based on the scripture that came before you. And by now, you probably guessed it. That's exactly what Allah tells Muhammad to do in Yunus 94 of the Quran. So if the Quran tells Jews and Christians to judge based on all that God revealed in their scripture, namely the Torah and the gospel, and if the Quran warns them against believing only part of their scripture and not others, and if the Quran tells Muhammad to test his own scripture based upon the prior scripture, maybe it's time for students of the Quran to prayerfully go to the source. Imagine for a moment that you are a Christian living in 7th century